You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Challenge us at Wexford Insurances 0818 31 30 30.
I'm joined now by Gordon Waugh of Go Trade, based in Enniscorthy. Gordon, start by telling me a bit about your own background, please.
I'm originally from Banbridge in the north. My family is from a farming background. My father got involved in the meat trade about 35 years ago, and he was involved with Linden Foods in the north, who then bought into Slaney Meats and Irish Country Meats in the south, and that is my Wexford connection right there.
So you came down to Wexford to work in Slaney Meats. What were you doing in Slaney?
Well, when I came down, it was about the year 2000, and I was in the lairage selecting cattle live for different customers, supermarkets and the like. And then I moved into sales for about 2 years, and it was then that I was then approached by a company in Liverpool who's a meat trader or a broker, an international broker, and that finished my time at Slaney in about 2003. 2002.
Tell me a bit about how that broking area within the sector works.
Basically, you're in some form or another, you're the middleman. There's no other way to explain it than that. You have to buy off a supplier, sell to the end user, which might be a supermarket or a wholesaler or a catering butcher. You have to provide a service in the middle where you can buy stock and sell the product, the right price, the right value, quality. And that's where people then hopefully will come back to you and use you on the supply side and the customer side. So
you're working in Liverpool for a number of years as a broker. What did that involve day to day?
Day to day, quite boring really, from being from a farming background and working in the factory. You would be sat in front of the computer, there would be stocks in front of you, there would be maybe 20 traders down a long desk selling off that computer, so you weren't physically working on the farm or with meat on a day-to-day basis, but because I had that background, I knew exactly, I had a mental picture in my head of what I was selling off that computer. So you'd be selling different cuts of meat, beef, lamb, pork, chicken, fresh and frozen, and offals from a computer screen to customers all over the world.
And it's from there you got the idea for Go Trade. Tell me how that developed.
Yeah, it was about 2004. I was working in the UK, and what I found was that I could be buying and selling Irish beef on a day-to-day basis to customers in the UK. For example, beef would be loaded on a Friday and delivered on a Monday in the UK, or a Tuesday and delivered on a Thursday. And my boss pushed me to do more of that because it was something that they hadn't already done. And at that stage, I saw that I was doing something a bit more unique, but came naturally to me. And that's what I still do today.
So is all of your beef sourced from Ireland?
All of my beef at the minute is sourced from Ireland, but I am finding more customers in the UK, which is my main market, asking about Italian, Polish, French, Dutch, even Lithuanian that I've never heard of coming in. And they're asking more and more about it because, like everyone these days, they're watching their bottom line more so than before.
How does the price of Irish beef compare to, let's say, the rest of Europe? Irish
beef would be, along with Scottish, probably would be the highest. You'd be looking at Irish, English, the Welsh, UK beef. You would have to say in Europe would be the highest valued beef. But then again, what goes with that is the quality of the animals, the quality of the farming practices here.
How do you think Fáilte Ireland are doing in terms of promoting Irish beef abroad?
Well, they're doing well. It's more Bord Bia that is involved with the meat trade and the food sector, but they're very proactive, really good. There's international food fairs every year in France, Germany, different other meat events in different European countries and around the world. And Bord Bia are heavily involved in promotion, and even bringing small businesses to the fore that are producing all sorts of Irish foods across, whether that be yogurts or cheeses or whatever it may be. Crossover with Bord Bia are the real, really proactive and the real drivers for promoting that worldwide. And
do you find that the Irish beef industry is holding its reputation well across the world?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I've got customers even in Spain that they don't want Spanish beef, or the customers in the UK that they don't really even want English as much anymore. They've maybe tried Polish, they've maybe tried French or Spanish, and maybe 6 weeks later they'll revert back to Irish and say, look, we were trying something different. It was cheaper, but my customers have come back to me to say that they want Irish again, and therefore that customer hopefully and is coming back to me to say, I want Irish again. So to me, that's at grassroots level. That's at the end user level. That's the person that's eating the product that counts.
And how price sensitive is the market?
At the moment, everyone is getting it tighter, more difficult to get paid, and my customers are like no one else. They're finding it tighter. They're exploring different possibilities. If the price swings by 10 or 15 pence for a certain cut, they'll maybe go with a different product that week, where maybe historically they would like to stick with one brand, one product the whole time, but that's becoming more and more difficult as we speak. I mean, I was talking to one factory yesterday up close to Dublin that was saying that for 2 pence in a kilo, he missed a contract for the next 6 months, and in one respect he was crazy not to take it, but in the other respect he can't believe that the customer actually dropped the contract for the next 6 months, and that would have been the equivalent of probably £300 sterling per week to that customer of his. And he said, 3 years ago that just wouldn't have been an issue, whereas now, he's missed out, and the customer has changed, and that's how tight things are at the moment.
I was speaking to a food supplier there recently who tells me that one of the biggest challenges facing his business out there today is that, which was traditionally he would have called to his own clients once a week to supply them with food, where now he has to supply them daily because they're making orders on a daily basis. Are you finding that has happened as well within your own business?
Well, within my own business, I'm finding that what I would find is people are running their stocks tighter. They're only ordering as they need to order. They won't buy in front of themselves. That's cash flow, where they maybe don't have the same cash flow as well to order a fortnight's worth of product. And they're saying, look, we want somebody that can deliver just 2 or 3 boxes to us 3-4 times a week or twice a week, rather than 15-20 boxes once every 2 weeks. That's maybe tying up, instead of tying up €3,000, it's maybe tying up €400 or €500 a week, and they can manage that better as well. And that's one thing I'm finding now with my suppliers, where I only deal on bulk pallet lots. I'm finding that people will run their stock right to the bottom before they consider ordering, and then when they order, they'll price around the market more so than previous times.
Gordon, I often hear it being said that there seems to be a huge shortage of beef in Ireland. Is that the case?
Yeah, well, at the minute you would nearly say that it is the case. Huge shortage, maybe not so much huge, but there definitely is a shortfall of good beef cattle in Ireland today. Just
talk us through the supply chain with beef itself, we'll say, from the farmer straight through to the fork, let's say, where somebody's eating it.
Well, there's different, there is only one farmer, I suppose you can put it that way, but there's different outlets at the end. You've got your farmer, who is hopefully producing your first class high quality beef. Then you've also got your dairy industry that's got their Frisian cows as well. They all have to go to the factory at some stage as well. And then you've got different outlets for all of that beef. So you've got your factory, all your number of factories throughout Ireland. They slaughter the animals, chill them, but in carcass format, and after that then they're maybe going out to the continent or the UK or within different other outlets in Ireland as carcasses that are then quartered. So you've got your hind quarter and your fore quarter, or a big percentage then goes into these factories. They're boning rooms where they remove all the bones, or they create the different cuts of meat that the end user, the customer, wants, whether that be ribs with the bone left in, whether it be sirloins with the bone left in, or just cuts, boneless cuts, and then that can take forms of completely defatted with a little bit of fat left on, and there's hundreds of different specifications, all depending on the end user. Then if they're boneless, then they'll be vacuum packed and chilled, or even frozen for specific customers, maybe burger manufacturers or whatever, and that would be take the form of trimmings off the beef or offcuts. And then after that, you've got your chilled transportation or your frozen transportation again that you would see on the road, your 40-foot trucks, and that's it. Depending on where the customer is, the product will go there. Then you have your wholesale and catering butchers who would then be taking in bulk beef that maybe I would be supplying more to, that then are slicing the beef for hotels, restaurants, cafes, bars, and that's more where I would be focused on the wholesale and retail. And those would be the type of guys you would see going around with 5 or 6 vans or small lorries on the road, little rigid lorries, refrigerated. You
mentioned there during that answer that there's different classes of beef. Explain those to me.
Well, you can start even with your veal calves, which is something that is making more of an impact now in Ireland. Then you would have your heifers and your steers. Your heifers, your female before it has calved, which would be prime top of the range Irish beef, really. And some say that would be the nicest. Then you have your steers, which is the male, where it has been castrated and is also a prime source of beef. Then you still have your young bulls that haven't been castrated and that maybe are slaughtered at a younger age, and still are prime. Then you have obviously your cows that are the older animal that have had, their 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever it is calves, and there has to be an outlet for those as well. And there is. More of that product would go to manufacturing burgers. The meat is perfectly fine. It's just an older animal, and unlike some species, the older animal, you wouldn't find a different taste. You wouldn't find a stronger taste with that. It's just the fact that they all go somewhere. But you'd find with the more of the prime animals, that's where you would get more of your nice sirloin steak or your nice ribeye steak when you're out, or when you're at a wedding, or when you go out for a nice meal. But still, a bigger percentage now of the animal in general goes to manufacturing, and whether that be diced beef or mince or burgers, because people just don't have as deep a pockets these days, and instead of having their fillet steak once a week, they might have they might make themselves some nice burgers at home and or a nice casserole, and that's more so the way it has went. So more of the animal, it doesn't make the animal cheaper, but more of the animal is going that direction, but not necessarily saying that any of the one animal is worse than the other, but that's the sort of different grades of animals that you have, and that's the breakdown.
With the short lifespan of beef, does that cause you any hassle?
No, because it's the beef is produced in factories for specific customers. Orders usually are put in front the week before in front, so factories know what they're producing for certain customers, and then those customers want different shelf lives on their beef. On a vac-packed article, could go anywhere from 4 to 5 week shelf life, depending on what the customer wants, up to 8 weeks, which is 2 months inside a vacuum packed bag. And there's no doubt when you take it out of that, it's going to be a sirloin steak or ribeye or fillet is going to eat like butter, absolutely perfect. And then there are customers that want product frozen at source, and it all depends on the end user and what they want.
One of the big areas there within your own business is the transportation of the meat itself across the continent or across to the UK. How do you find that process?
Well, that's fine. It works very well. You have to choose your transporter carefully because you want them arriving on time, both at the supplier and the end user. You want them to pre-book in with both, and you want to make sure they have their insurance in place as well. If you've got, for example, 2-3 pallets of beef on board, it might be 10 or 15,000 pounds worth of beef sterling. You have to make sure that all these people have the correct insurances in place and that they're good references. And I use 2 or 3 different customer or hauliers to bring stuff either to the UK or back from the UK, and absolutely no problem as long as you've got a good reputation with them and they have a good reputation. But as regards the moment with the price of fuel, I've seen in the last 5 years definitely the price of haulage has went up, as well as the price of a lot of things. But what you have now is your rate, and then you have a fuel surcharge then on top of that. But it's another situation of everyone's finding it tight at the moment. Nobody's wrong, nobody's right. It's just one of those things that it's another cost that you maybe then have to build in for your customer, and maybe they don't like that so much either. But as regards haulage to and from the UK, it's you can take your pick. There's a number of high quality refrigerated hauliers that can do both ways really at the moment.
Gordon, I know that there's approximately 25 meat factories across Ireland. What's the quality like amongst those?
The quality standards that they produce to would be seriously high. Even reversing back 10 years ago, it seems to be getting tougher and tougher every year as the focus and the spotlight is more and more on food products and meat. You've got your European legislations and rules to hit all the time. You've got your Department of Agriculture, obviously within Ireland. You have to, you've got your veterinary staff on site. After that, you have your audits by different supermarkets, by different customers that you're dealing with. They would be, they all have their own set of specifications and rule books that you have to hit. And if you're below those standards, you just don't supply them. And some of these customers even have scoring systems where if you fall below 92% or whatever score it might be that they have, then you have to step out for a 4 to 6 week period to get yourself back up and correct some of the maybe that could be something as small as 1 degree out in temperature or half a degree out in temperature when the truck arrives to late deliveries. It's so tight. And then you've got your different accreditations that you have to have, your European ones, your Irish ones. One of the hardest would be your EFSIS accreditation, which is a European accreditation. And that's some of the things that you have to, standards that you have to have. It's really unbelievable, the quality standards that you have to uphold to even be allowed to open your doors.
Are you finding an increase in the demand for Irish beef, let's say from the UK and even further afield?
Well, I am and I'm not. As I touched on earlier, I am because people want to buy it. As we were talking about price sensitive at the moment, some of these customers, some of these end users are stuck between a rock and a hard place because they want the best quality beef that they can get to supply their customers with, to then get more repeat business, better business for themselves, stronger foundation. But then you're getting cheaper beef being offered to them at the same price, and that's the constant battle. It is in one respect trying to grow itself organically and naturally, but there are it's like everything at the moment, there are restraints pulling it back as well, and one of those is price, but there's absolutely no doubt about it that people want the product that comes out of this island. There's no doubt. I
know that most of your beef has been sold into the UK. Have you any plans, let's say, to develop that from a geographic perspective into other European countries?
Well, I was supplying some into Spain, but then there's a huge percentage of beef goes to, name your countries throughout Europe, if not the world. But there's a lot of beef goes into France, Spain, Portugal, Germany on a weekly basis, and Sweden, Denmark, Scandinavia. It's Belgium. It's there's absolutely no problem to find new customers for Irish beef, because I think that's the thing, the beef does speak for itself. It's a matter of finding the correct one, and that is one area that I will target in the coming years is maybe customers in Germany, Switzerland, Spain, France, Portugal, whatever. That would be something that I would like to get into. And, there's different trade fairs that you can go to around Europe that you can certainly go and meet, and you could even, you could talk to Board B or things like that, and they could point you in the right direction, which they have done recently, and point you maybe in a food fair or a trade fair in different countries that specialise in different products. And you could go there and certainly put yourself out there and meet potential new customers. And that's one thing that I will look to do in the coming years.
Over the last few years, have Board B done much for your own business in helping you develop it? For
my own business, I would say not, because I haven't really asked for too much. It's because I find that I'm in the middle, I'm the middleman, I'm not a producer, I'm not the factory, I'm not the supplier. The factory and the supplier are the ones at the moment that are really spreading their wings across Europe more. So it's something that I haven't really got round to yet. But to be truthful, any dealings that I have had with them, they've been fantastic. Any factories that have had dealings with them, they've been very good as well. But it is something that in the future, I'd have no doubt that I will get support from them, whether that be marketing or just guidance in the right direction. But as of present, I haven't needed to, but I'm sure if I did, they would have been there at hand if needs be.
Well, Gordon, it's certainly been a very informative interview. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you continued success with GoTrade.
You're listening to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick in association with Wexford Insurances. Think Wexford Insurances for your business insurance.